As we speak, huge winter storm, I'm pretty sure they named it, is barreling down towards us. Unfortunately, honest truth, we are not ready for this storm. We're supposed to get around a foot of snow. They're calling for 40-mile-per-hour winds. This is the scary part. Our entire homestead has zero water close by other than what's in our well, which is run by power. We do not yet have a backup power source. Our generator, we have a generator, but it's not hooked up to the well's electrical system. And so if we lose power, we're in really big trouble. Today we have got to prepare some plan B for this huge winter storm coming. Make sure that we make it through the next couple days with or without power. We have tons of livestock that rely on us here at this homestead. We have Highland cattle, Jersey cows, pigs, chickens, goats. Everybody needs water. And with an impending huge winter storm coming on us, the best thing we can do is store up some water that we can get to them with or without power. That's where these come in. These are my IBC totes that I use to water the animals in the summertime out in the pasture. I know that just one IBC tote has enough water to water all my cattle for a couple days. So today I'm going to take these down and fill them. That's the first thing we're going to do to prepare for this storm, but it's not the last. So since we've moved to Pennsylvania, we have never lost power for longer than an hour. Now, I want you to guess in the comments below. Make your predictions. Are we gonna lose power with this storm? Going by our track record, I would say no. But we've also never got a foot of snow and 40-mile-per-hour winds in the same time. Winters have been pretty mild here in Pennsylvania since we moved. So this is an entirely different kind of set of circumstances than what we're used to seeing. Back in Connecticut, where we were in Connecticut, we used to lose power all the time. So we had a generator hooked up to our house, to our main breaker, into the house's electrical system. Right on the breaker, we could plug the generator in with what's called a backfeed system. And warning here, I'm not an electrician, so don't take any of this as advice for what you should do. But we could power the whole house through backfeeding our system, and we could do it safely without electrocuting the guys working on the line, because we had a professional electrician install a system where we had to shut off our main breaker before we could backfeed the house with our generator. So, needless to say, we were able to run water at our old homestead to provide water for all the animals and keep our freezers going. This is another big problem. We have years worth of meat put up in our freezers, and if the power goes out, that meat starts thawing. Now this can be tricky too. This is something we got to pay attention to. Our well does not have enough water in it at any given time to fill an entire IBC tote. That means what we have to do today is we have to fill this IBC tote in, 20-minute increments. So what I'll do is I'll turn on the water, I'll set my timer on my phone for 20 minutes, I'll come out here in 20 minutes and turn it off, and I'll keep doing that throughout the day. This IBC tote is going to get stored in our pole barn, which, while it isn't really warm, it's not freezing in the pole barn. We have a couple heaters running, so that'll keep this water not frozen. And this IBC tote is a great tool to use to store water. You can hold 300 gallons in these things. And with the tractor, we can move it anywhere onto the farm we need it. It'll last us a couple days. If we fill 2 IBC totes, we'll have enough water for a week of power outage here in this homestead. If we have a week of power outage, we'd have a lot bigger problems than just the water. So I'm really hoping that's not coming. IBC totes, if you need to copy this system for yourself, get a couple IBC totes for emergency water on the homestead. You can usually find them on Craigslist for anywhere from 75 to 100 bucks. Brand new, they're a lot more money than that, but used you can find them. Oftentimes people will have them. I try to look for food grade ones. This one used to have frosting for donuts in it. When we got it, there was a bunch of pink frosting in it. So find a food grade one or something that was used with food. You don't want to, be watering your animals out of something that had some kind of corrosive, nasty, grease or oil or something. Usually you'll find right somewhere around here a food certification, certified for food contact. Freezers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one we call the coffin because you could store an entire body in there if you needed to. I mean, right here we have a freezer full of chicken. It's just all chicken from our pasture chickens. What do we do to make sure that that stays frozen even if we have a power outage? The first thing we do is have chest freezers. Just having chest freezers is a really good precaution when it comes to being prepared for power outages. We, as you can see, have 1, 2, 3, 4 chest freezers. This one here is pork and beef steaks. This one here is all ground beef. And we have lamb and venison. And this big one over here is just chicken. And what we do is we fill these throughout the season. You watch along as we butcher chickens and we butcher lambs and we shoot deer and we butcher pigs and we trade for beef, although pretty soon we'll have some of our own. We fill these freezers to the top. Chest freezers are much more efficient than upright freezers. Naturally, heat rises, so it's colder down low in a freezer. And chest freezers are, all the product is down low, unlike an upright freezer. So they stay colder, and if you don't open up the lid of your chest freezer a bunch, they can stay frozen for a long time. They're insulated, and without the door constantly opening, everything stays cold down in there. So, if we do have a power outage, taking these chest freezers and then adding ice on top, getting some bags of ice, adding it on top of what's already in there, it's more efficient to have a full freezer than it is a freezer with open air. Fill them with some ice, keep the lids closed. You can tape them shut, and then maybe running a generator with these plugged into it once every couple of days just to make sure everything gets a good solid freezing. But overall, just having a chest freezer that's full of cold meat will extend the life. If it goes beyond a day or two and we need to start running a generator, then we'll do that. We can plug a generator into our freezers, fire them up for a couple hours, chill everything back down again, and then let them stay cold. So that's something we've done in the past and we may have to do if we lose power for more than a couple days. Now here's a really cool pro tip for you. If you want to know whether the contents of your freezer have thawed, if they've gotten above freezing temperature and you should be concerned, take a jar, pour it half full with water, and put some food coloring in. Like, for example, blue. Let that freeze. Add the second half of the jar with water, yellow food coloring, let that freeze. You should have blue and yellow. If the temperature in the freezer ever gets to above freezing, your water will thaw and it will make green liquid. And when you come and open that freezer and you see your jar is green, you know you have a problem. So that's a good way, one good way to monitor whether or not you've had an issue with meat thawing and then refreezing. So just a little cool deep chest freezer tip for you. Another thing we're doing right now is just making sure that all the waters are currently topped off so that before the big storm, if the power were to go out, everybody is well thirst quenched. So everybody gets a good drink, top them off, plug a couple water trough heaters in, just try to get everything really ahead. We're loading up the animals on hay, we're loading them up on feed, making sure everybody has plenty, making sure they're warm, battening down the hatches. These two pigs we have butcher plans for. So they are actually being separated from the female pigs. Interesting reason why. So this is one of those weird things that like COVID has indirectly caused. I'm sure right now everybody's dealing with shortages. And actually, Homesteady's dealing with shortages. Our Homesteady swag. If you have ordered a Homesteady t-shirt or hat or something and you haven't got it yet, the family that runs our swag shop, the Parsons Homestead, have told me that there is shortages on our clothing. So please, if you have an issue, contact Aaron. If you want your money back, you can totally get a refund. But you know, I love supporting this family. They're homesteaders and they're working hard to try to fill the orders. Aaron's encouraged people to maybe switch what they want. So if you're waiting on a Homesteady shirt or something, contact the Parsons who you ordered it from and let them know what you'd like to swap it for. Or if you're just patient, eventually it will come for sure. But just wanted to let everyone know that. Another issue that shortages have caused here, the drug that is used to sedate pigs is on short supply. That is an uncut boar, and we wanted to butcher him because we've decided, which we'll talk about in our upcoming podcast about plans for the new year, we've decided not to breed him, and we'll get into more why in that podcast. So click there to sign up to our podcast channel so you don't miss that stuff, because we now podcast on a new channel. He is not cut. We don't want boar taint in the meat. Normally you could sedate the pig, cut him, and a month later you could butcher him and you wouldn't have to worry about boar taint, which is a funky smell to your pork that a male pig with testicles can have at times. They don't always have it, but they can have it. Or more likely, you can't always taste it, but some people can. So here's the tricky thing. This drug that is used to sedate pigs is in short supply. Our vet can't come out here and cut him. So we did some research and we found that if you separate the boars from the females for a long enough period of time, usually that will take those hormone levels down and you will not have boar taint in your meat. So these two have been separated to a paddock that is really hard to work with right now. We're hauling buckets up the hill to water these animals every day. It's the most inefficient, awful setup ever. But it wasn't what we had planned and we're just dealing with it. It's the best we can do right now with the situation that we have. These guys will be getting butchered soon. That one is not a boar. He's just the buddy. He's actually already been cut. So that barrow is destined for the freezer. That boar is destined for the freezer. And again, if you're wondering why are we butchering our IPP, Idaho Pastured Pig Boar, stay tuned for that upcoming podcast. We've had some things change on the homestead and we'll be talking to you about why, but you won't catch it unless you subscribe to the new podcast channel. So click there to do that. Okay, everybody's got the hay that they need. The cattle up on the hill have round bales rolled out that if they can find them, great. Once it snows, I'll roll out a new round bale for them so that they have some feed that they don't have to go digging through a foot of snow for, because that'll be too much for them. The waters are all filled. At this point, it's a waiting game. We know the storm's coming. It should start later today. Now we're just waiting to see what happens. Are things gonna get crazy? Are we gonna lose power? Or is this just a good exercise in being prepared that we'll be rewarded with just another normal day tomorrow morning? Time will tell. Okay. My Lord of the Rings fans, what quote am I about to share? So it begins. Snow's here. I got my water filled up. IBC totes filled up to the tippy top. I hope the tractor can pick it up. All right, it is here. Whoa, look at you guys.
You should see what I made.
Whoa, nice. It's like Snow Fort Kingdom. You're moving out.
Come see.
Well, we definitely got a ton of snow. There's no doubt about it. Good news, we did not lose power. I love living in Pennsylvania. We never lose power. Connecticut, we would have been out of power for a week now. What do you got?
This is mine.
Show me.
This is mine.
It's your little igloo? Wow, look at that. Nice. Building some igloos.
I can pretty much fit in.
Impressive. So now, the good news, we don't need to worry about the water, but we do have to make sure all the animals are okay, make sure we can unbury everybody, get feed, get water, and all that stuff to them. So Homestead in a big deep snow means plow time. Overnight we got probably about a foot of snow here. It's still snowing. We're gonna start digging everybody out, taking care of the animals. Everything's always harder in deep snow like this. Got to roll out some hay for the animals up in the field. This should be interesting. We've never done grazing, bale grazing in deep snow or ever in snow. Here's a little trick with electric fencing in the winter. A lot of times if we get high snow, the wires will get buried. Turn off your electric fence and then walk it, as you're about to see me do, 2 feet on either side of it, and it clears the fence of the snow. Everything is always so much harder in the snow. You got, just trudging through it is hard enough. And then there's everything freezing. Nice tunnel. But the kids certainly love it.